Long before the first European ships appeared on the horizon, the Maya world had already risen, flourished, fractured, and endured for thousands of years. It was not a single empire. There was no one Maya king who ruled everything from a single capital. Instead, the Maya world was a living network of cities, dynasties, languages, markets, farms, temples, and sacred landscapes stretching across what is now southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. Its heartland was not an easy place to build a civilization. Much of it was tropical lowland, dense forest, seasonal wetlands, limestone soil, and regions where rivers were scarce. In some places, there were no great river valleys like the Nile or the Tigris. Water had to be captured, stored, managed, and protected. Yet from this demanding landscape, the Maya built one of the most sophisticated civilizations of the ancient Americas. Their story begins deep in the Preclassic period, when villages grew from farming communities into organized centers of power. Maize became the foundation of life. Alongside beans, squash, cacao, and chili peppers, it fed families, supported rulers, and shaped religion. To the Maya, maize was not just a crop. It was tied to creation itself. Human beings, in Maya myth, were fashioned from maize dough. Every harvest was part of a cosmic cycle. By around the first millennium BC, monumental centers were already rising. Places like El Mirador showed that Maya society could mobilize labor on an enormous scale long before the famous classic period cities reached their height. Causeways crossed the landscape. Pyramids rose above the forest canopy. Elites claimed authority through ritual, ancestry, warfare, and control over sacred time. The Maya did not see cities as merely practical settlements. They were maps of the cosmos. Pyramids echoed sacred mountains. Caves and reservoirs marked entrances to the underworld. Plazas became spaces where rulers performed ceremonies before crowds, binding political power to divine order. Stone monuments recorded kings, victories, rituals, and dates with astonishing precision. Then came the Classic period, roughly from the 3rd to 9th centuries AD, when Maya civilization reached its most famous form. Great city-states emerged across the lowlands: Tikal, Calakmul, Palenque, Copán, Caracol, Yaxchilán, Piedras Negras, and many others. Each had its own ruling dynasty. Each competed for prestige, tribute, allies, captives, and sacred legitimacy. This was a world of courts and scribes, ambassadors and warriors, astronomers and architects. Rulers wore jade, feathers, shell ornaments, and elaborate headdresses. They commissioned carved stelae, showing themselves in ritual costume, standing between the human and supernatural realms. Royal bloodletting, incense burning, dance, and sacrifice were not side details. They were central acts of government. The Maya developed the most complete writing system in the ancient Americas. Their script combined signs for sounds and meanings, allowing them to record history, genealogy, mythology, astronomy, warfare, and royal propaganda. For a long time, outsiders assumed the inscriptions were mostly peaceful calendars and religious texts. Modern decipherment changed that picture. The carved stones speak of ambition, rivalry, defeat, capture, and dynastic struggle. Maya mathematics and astronomy were equally impressive. They used the concept of 0 centuries before it appeared in many Old World traditions. They tracked cycles of the moon, Venus, eclipses, and ritual calendars. Time itself was layered: a sacred 260-day calendar, a solar 365-day calendar, and the long count, which placed events within vast historical and mythic cycles. But this was not a peaceful utopia of astronomer priests, as older romantic versions sometimes imagined. Nor was it a simple world of bloodthirsty kings, as later exaggerations suggested. It was both refined and violent, intellectual and political, deeply religious and intensely practical. The great rivalry of the classic period was between Tikal and Calakmul. These were not empires in the Roman sense, but they built spheres of influence through marriage alliances, vassal kings, military pressure, and symbolic dominance. For generations, the balance shifted. Tikal suffered defeat, Calakmul rose. Then Tikal returned to power. Across the Maya world, smaller kingdoms navigated this dangerous landscape, sometimes flourishing by choosing the right patron, sometimes disappearing after choosing the wrong one. Ordinary Maya life continued beneath the monuments. Most people were farmers. They built terraces, drained fields, managed forests, and cultivated household gardens. They paid tribute, joined labor projects, attended ceremonies, and lived within the orbit of royal courts. The splendor of the temples depended on the work of thousands of unnamed hands. Then, in the 8th and 9th centuries, many of the great southern lowland cities entered crisis. Royal inscriptions became less frequent, buildings slowed, courts fractured, populations declined or shifted. Some cities were abandoned, others transformed. This was the so-called classic Maya collapse. But collapse is a dangerous word if it suggests sudden disappearance. The Maya did not vanish. What collapsed was a political order, the world of divine kingship, monument building, and competing lowland courts. The causes were likely multiple and reinforcing. Drought placed pressure on water systems. Population growth strained agricultural land. Warfare intensified. Trade routes shifted. Ruling elites may have lost legitimacy when they could no longer maintain prosperity, victory, or cosmic balance. In the north, Maya civilization continued. Cities like Chichén Itzá and later Mayapán became major centers. These places show a different political world, connected to wider Mesoamerican trade and influence. Chichén Itzá, with its Great Pyramid, ball courts, colonnades, and sacred cenote, became one of the most powerful cities of the Postclassic era. The Maya world adapted, reorganized, and survived. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, they did not find empty ruins. They found living Maya kingdoms, communities, languages, books, and traditions. The conquest of Maya lands was not quick. Some regions resisted for generations. The Itzá kingdom at Nojpetén, in the Petén Bassin, did not fall until 1697, long after the conquest of the Aztec capital. The destruction was severe. Spanish conquest brought warfare, forced labor, disease, missionization, and the burning of Maya books. Only a few pre-Columbian Maya codices survive today. The loss is almost impossible to measure. Entire libraries of astronomy, ritual, history, and local knowledge disappeared. Yet the Maya endured. Millions of Maya people still live today across Mexico and Central America. Maya languages are still spoken. Communities preserve ceremonies, textiles, agricultural knowledge, oral histories, and identities rooted in landscapes their ancestors knew for centuries. The ruins that tourists visit are not the remains of a vanished people. They are the stone record of one chapter in a much longer story. The Maya achievement was not just pyramid building, though their cities remain extraordinary. It was the creation of civilization in landscapes that demanded adaptation. It was the invention of a written historical tradition in the Americas. It was the mastery of time, mathematics, astronomy, architecture, agriculture, and political theatre. And perhaps the most important lesson is this: the Maya world was never frozen in one golden age. It rose, changed, suffered, reorganized, and continued. Its kings died. Its cities were swallowed by forest. Its books were burned, but its people remained. The ancient Maya are often introduced through mystery: abandoned temples, lost cities, unreadable glyphs, jungle ruins. But the deeper story is not mystery. It is resilience. A civilization built under difficult skies, in limestone and rainforest, with maize fields, painted books, sacred calendars, and stone cities reaching above the trees. A world that did not disappear. A world that is still here.